Hey guys, Logan here. So this is going to be a very different video than I normally make. This one doesn't start with my intro, nor does it end with an outro, like how I always do with these videos I have made recently. And that should tell you all you need to know that this video is serious. And you might be wondering as to why that is. Simply because of the title of this video, why my cruise trip was canceled. And I will get into my explanation for that in just a minute, but before I do want to provide some backstory to give in some context, because it is very important as it relates to me making this video. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, I made a Sunday Thoughts video talking about, the Wonder of the Seas cruise ship by Royal Caribbean International. And in that video, I discussed about my family and I planning on going on that cruise ship and be on there from April 27th to May 4th, an 8-day long cruise, especially in the Royal Caribbean, mostly. I said we were going to be on that cruise ship for that very cruise for 8 days out on a giant, large, massive cruise ship. And simply put, I'm making this video to tell you that we ended up not doing that. We instead decided to cancel our cruise trip for one reason and one reason only. And I'm going to try to explain as plainly and as quickly as I can while giving as little information as possible because this is personal. This is some personal stuff. And normally, I try to avoid talking about everything that has been going on in my life simply because of how personal it is. But as it relates to the Sunday Thoughts video I made, talking about going on a cruise trip, and we ended up not doing that, I feel like I owe you guys an explanation. So, the reason why we ended up not being on our cruise trip out on the Wonder of the Seas is because my grandmother passed away. My grandmother on my father's side passed away on the 28th of April. It was Monday, April 28th, when my grandmother passed away, who I often call Grams. And even before the day she passed, my family and I were, especially my dad, was receiving text messages from my aunt, his sister, talking about my grandmother and how she's doing, how is her condition, is it getting better or has it gotten worse? He was reading to me and my mom what my aunt was texting to him about my grandmother, basically saying that she was not feeling well. In fact, she was getting worse. That her health was deteriorating very rapidly. And we weren't looking forward to it, but we were waiting for the day when she passed. And that is when, on the 28th of April, which again was Monday, my dad told us a text message he received from my aunt basically saying that Grams passed away. Yeah. Sorry. I don't normally react this way when I'm making videos. It's just something that I don't normally make, let alone want to make. But I feel it is necessary to let you guys know exactly what happened as to why we didn't go on the cruise trip and instead we did something else. So, the day after she passed, on Tuesday the 29th, we left to go to Georgia where my grandmother lived, and we stayed at a relatively nice hotel not too far out from where my grandmother's house is, and we stayed there for 3 to 4 nights. And so on the first day, staying at the hotel, we went to the viewing, which was on the Wednesday, I believe, April the 30th. And then Thursday, May 1st, was the funeral. And we went there, obviously. There was everybody there who was closest to her, or at least some relatives and acquaintances. Pretty much everybody was there. And then on Friday, May 2nd, we went to my grandmother's house to pick up some boxes, some of which have been carrying books, as well as picture frames, I believe, and some other stuff within them. And then we went on our way to carry them all the way to, leaving from Georgia back home in Florida. And that was it. My grandmother passed away. She's gone. It's really tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's really tough when especially when you lose a grandparent in your life. And this is not the first time that I have suffered over the loss of a grandparent or some member of my family. About 14 years ago, I would say, maybe 15, I lost my pawpaw, my grandmother, or grandfather specifically. Then 10 years later, in, I believe it was 2021, I lost my dog, Charlie, who was a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And then a few years later, a couple weeks ago, it was my grandmother. This is not a very pleasant thing to talk about in a video. I get it. And quite frankly, not something that I want to talk about. But it is worth pointing out just how wonderful of a grandmother she was to me. I mean, to give you an example, and I could be mistaking this for any location we were in when she came to visit us, but when I was a little kid, we were living over in Germany, and this was during the early 2000s. It was the early 2000s at that time, and I don't know if this is actually true, that we were in Germany or if we were in some other location when she visited us, but my grandmother, Grams, went out of her way to leave the United States to come visit us in Germany, spending some time with us, me and my family. And that is the type of love that you would want from a grandparent in your family. Least of all, your grandmother. At least to me, that is. She was an absolute icon. She was an absolute superstar. An inspiration and influence to look up to. She was very loving, very kind, very loving, basically. She loved me, she loved my sister, and she loved our cousins, who were her grandkids as well. She was just amazing. And the world is now a lesser place without her, now that she's gone. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I apologize that I'm making this a sad and depressing video to watch. Believe me, I get it. But I feel like I wanted to show the love to my grandmother for all the love that she has shown me throughout my whole life, ever since I was born. Just thinking that it was necessary to give back the love, and how much she meant to me. And it is worth noting that she died the day before her birthday, which was April 29th. So April 29th that was the day when we left from here at home in Florida to go to Georgia, where once again she lived. And that was during her birthday. So we left on what was supposed to be her birthday, had she not passed. It's something that I've been hesitant to make a video about. Something that is quite frankly not the type of video I usually make here on this channel. But once again, I felt that it was necessary to explain to you guys why my family and I decided to go to Georgia for my grandmother's funeral instead of going on a cruise ship like I said in that Sunday Thoughts video we were going to do. Like, I felt the need to let you guys know about that since we didn't do exactly what I said we were going to do. And to be fair, it was only after I made that Sunday Thoughts video that my mom, my dad, and myself received text messages from my aunt talking about my grandmother and how her condition has worsened over time right before she died. Anyway, that is all. I'm sorry that I had to make this video very sad and depressing to watch. I didn't want it to be this way, but it is necessary. And I felt the need to let you guys know what happened, and also to give love to my grandmother, who is now up with the Almighty himself right now. That is all for now, guys. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you all in the next video. Hopefully more positive and uplifting and less depressing this time. I'm pretty sure it will be, but you get my point. I love you guys. Have a great day. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, Battle Squad. And as always, fight the good fight. Rest in peace, Grams.